Hello and welcome to an update of our Goldilocks experiment. And we will start with our baby bin. So, if I can get this open, we'll see if these guys deserve a feeding. The moisture is looking nice in here. Nice little cocoon. Lots of castings. And babies. I'm seeing lots of cocoons. So these guys are obviously happy with their amount of food and bedding. I think here's another cocoon here. Look at all these castings. This is where we fed last week. And this is where we fed the week before that. But we know that the food is basically all gone, and that's why it was important to feed them. Let's see how they did this week. Pretty much all gone. Oh yeah, not even seeing skins, nothing. Absolutely nothing except a bunch of cocoons. Okay, these guys are definitely going to get a feeding. Now I'm going to give a smaller feeding than I did last week. I think last week I gave them 8 ounces. I'm going to give them 4 1/8 ounces. Oh my gosh, I got so many babies on my gloves. Teeny tiny things. And I'm going to give them, the smaller feeding, because the other 2 bins, I'm not even sure that I'll be able to feed today. They need time to catch up. These guys, we'll see. I may feed them again midweek, depending how well they do. This is a cucumber that has gone bad. So it looks like pickles, but it's not. I don't put pickles in my bin because of the salt content. But this cucumber is cut up into small pieces. And these guys should probably make quick work of it. And I'm going to check on them to make sure that they have glass. That they have food. It's not fair for them to starve while their brothers and sisters are trying to catch up. So we'll mark the area where we fed, but here everything is really looking good. Very nice and moist. So making sure I don't have any babies on my gloves, and we'll go to our mama bin. Here we are with our second bin, or we'll call them the mama bin from now on. So this is where we have cut up pieces of food and bedding. And there still are pieces of dry material, but everything is looking nice and moist, so I'm not at all concerned. This is where we fed last week, but we also need to check that pocket. So if there is still food in there, even though there may be a little bit of food left in here, but if there's food in both pockets, I will skip a feeding because I don't want to overfeed this bin. But I have the food prepared just in case they manage to, oh, look at that, cocoons. There's one, there's two. These guys are happy laying cocoons. Yeah, they took care of the food. So they do get to be fed today as well. Let's see how it looks here. They're catching up actually, very, very nice. Skins, yeah, skins of the watermelons last to break down, but the majority of the melon is gone. So these guys, it did well. Very good. And you can see how moist everything is in here. So I'll put some of the drier materials, like from here, incorporated into here, and this will all even itself out. Very good. So we'll feed then in a corner here. And I did prepare it for them. I was always hoping that they would catch up, and they did. So now these guys get the same food, except they get it in chunks. And they'll get their cap full of oyster shell. And then we'll just cover it up. Actually, even some of the drier bedding. That'll be good. Very nice. Oh, I'm glad these guys caught up. So I guess certain foods like melon does tend to decompose faster than other foods, so they've managed to catch up. Great. So now we have our Papa bin left. Let's see what's happening in the Papa bin. That's our largest chunks. And actually the moisture in here is even higher than it is in the cut up pieces. Interesting. Very interesting. But you can tell obviously if we put in pieces like this and we're getting things like this is all casting. So they are just doing a great job. And there's a baby. And this is where we fed. So we're going to check this side first. I still feel So the moisture is getting a little bit higher than I like it to be. Typically, I would be adding a lot of bedding, but since we're running this experiment equally in all three bins, that means I'm going to have to add bedding to the other ones as well. See, these guys are basically caught up as well. Oh, I'm so impressed. Very, very impressed. I didn't think I would get a chance to feed you guys, but oh boy, you proved me wrong. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to feed, and we can feed in this corner. Again, tons of babies, and I have to check. This slows me down because they're so tiny. I don't want to carry them out of the bin. And here we have the same 4 1/8 ounces of cucumbers. What I did was I made a slit here so that the worms could get into it, but I left it whole because this is our whole food bin. and our oyster shell. And we're going to cover this up with some paper. And then we'll put the castings on top. Make sure nothing is exposed. We don't want fruit flies. And then we'll just mark this area. I will definitely be adding more bedding, but what I was also going to probably do is leave the top off. Now remember, the idea behind this experiment is we want to create as equal of an environment in each bin as possible. So if this bin is getting too wet compared to the other two bins, instead of adding bedding, I'm going to solve the issue by leaving the top open and letting a lot more air in here so it equals out the moisture in the bin. That should do that. But I probably will be adding more bedding to all of the bins as we progress. So that's it for this week, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining me.